Located in the scenic Ozark Mountain region of southern Missouri and north central Arkansas is the water sports paradise known as Bull Shoals Lake. The project totals more than 104,000 acres of federal lands and water. Bull Shoals Lake has approximately 822 miles of shoreline at conservation or power pool at elevation 659 feet. The lake is best known for being one of the nation's finest fishing and boating destinations. The White River tailwaters of Bull Shoals Lake is home to one of America's premier trout streams, famous for record rainbow and brown trout. There are 37 public use areas around Bull Shoals Lake. 9 campgrounds and 6 access points on the lake are operated by the Corps of Engineers. In 2012, a district-led recreation adjustment plan evaluated all the parks on Bull Shoals Lake and, for budgetary reasons, leased the camping portion of Dam Site Park and Pontiac Parks. In both cases, the boat ramps continue to be operated and maintained by the Mountain Home Project Office. There are 12 parks and 10 access points operated by city, county, or state agencies, marinas, church groups, or schools around the lake. The lake's original master plan was first approved in 1951. The master plan is the strategic document that guides the comprehensive management and development of a project's recreational, natural, and cultural resources. The last master plan revision was approved in 1975. No single agency has total oversight of the lake, and no two visitors share the same vision of how the lake should look in 20 years. But we know all have its best interests at heart. During the process of updating the master plan, the Corps' intent was to interact with as many people as possible to focus on a common goal of defining measures to support the lake's sustainability. To begin the process, the Corps invited more than 25,000 people to attend public scoping workshops to express their vision for the future of the lake. More than 750 people attended one of 5 workshops in the Bull Shoals Lake area during August 2014. Additionally, during the 30-day public comment period, approximately 383 scoping comments were received and reviewed. From those comments, a scoping report was developed in which we identified the public's top 3 major concerns: water quality, environmental, and recreation. We developed a preliminary draft master plan and, using the top 3 concerns, formed 3 focus groups to discuss those concerns and topics in order to help us refine our preferred alternative to best manage the area for future generations. These focus groups were made up of community leaders, business owners, visitors, members of the public at large, and representatives from various local, state, and federal agencies. We now have a preferred alternative for the draft master plan. In addition, the other alternatives that were considered are included in the draft environmental assessment. We ask that you look at these draft documents, remembering that the most important part of the master plan are the land classifications. Once more, we will be taking comments from you during a public comment period so that we can determine if we need to refine this draft plan. We want to make it the best possible combination of current management practices and agency and public input for the next 20 years at Bull Shoals Lake. So let's briefly go through the land classifications, what they mean, and how the revisions change the current plan. We have 4 major land classifications at Bull Shoals Lake: project operations, high-density recreation, environmentally sensitive, and multiple resource management lands. Project operations are those lands used solely for the operation of the lake. This includes those areas required for the dam, spillway, switchyard, levees, dikes, offices, and maintenance facilities. High-density recreation are lands currently used or could be developed in the future for high-use recreational activities for the visiting public. This may include day-use areas and/or campgrounds, as well as areas for commercial business on project lands such as marinas. Environmentally sensitive area are lands where scientific, ecological, cultural, or aesthetic features have been identified and must not be negatively impacted. Typically, limited or no development of public use is allowed on these lands. Uses such as agricultural, grazing, or mowing activities that may impact natural resources are not allowed on these lands unless necessary for a specific resource management benefit. The multiple resource management classification allows for a particular use but has the potential for other uses on these lands. This classification is broken down into the following subcategories. Low-density recreation includes lands with little development that could support passive public use like primitive camping, fishing, hunting, trails, wildlife viewing, shoreline use permits, and more. In the Shoreline Management Plan, this area could include zoning for limited development areas like resort docks, boat docks, and other shoreline uses. Wildlife management land is designated for stewardship of fish and wildlife resources. Management programs to improve forest, range, and wildlife are allowed in this land classification. Future or inactive recreation areas have potential for future recreational development or are areas that are closed. Until there is an opportunity to develop or reopen these areas, they will be managed for multiple resources. There are also water surface classifications identified in this revised master plan. Restricted surface waters are for project operations, safety, and security purposes, such as near Bull Shoals Dam. Open recreation areas are waters available for year-round or seasonal water-based recreation. This classification represents the majority of water surface use on Bull Shoals Lake. Now that we've reviewed the land and water classifications, let's look at the draft master plan that has been written for the moderate conservation alternative. This is the Corps' preferred alternative. The moderate conservation alternative differs from the current 1975 master plan by decreasing high-density recreation to 3,714 acres and decreasing low-density lands to 7,257 acres. Wildlife management lands will increase to 15,917 acres, and in response to the public's feedback to keep the lake natural and scenic, environmentally sensitive lands will increase to 29,366 acres. Project operations lands would increase by 30 acres, providing a total of 91 acres for project operations. The other alternatives considered in development of this draft master plan and draft environmental assessment were the no action, limited development, and maximum conservation.
My team has worked hard on preparing our draft master plan and draft environmental assessment. I encourage you to read the materials available, ask questions, and make comments. We are asking all of you to continue to be a part of this process and help us in completing the revision. The public review period on this revision runs from July 27th through September 11th, 2015. During this time, the Corps will be receiving your input at our public workshops or by comment cards or letters sent by mail, email, or fax. Once we receive all the comments, the team will reconvene to review and process all of your input for a final master plan. The revised master plan is scheduled for release in November 2015. Before it is implemented, we will hold more open houses. This is to ensure that you understand how this plan will impact you and the lake. Thank you for your continued involvement. We value your input for the future of Bull Shoals Lake.